It's Shabes, and welcome to another stream of the Anime Encyclopedia, another deep dive. It's been a little while since I've done this, so you bear with me a little bit while I figure this ish out. I just also barely finished my reading too. Thankfully, this is one that like I didn't have to do any like databasing of like spotting the difference between the first edition and the third edition. Today is just finishing off A completely, reading the rest of the A entries in the third edition, and the next stream we're going to be going through B. Let me look at my notes here. The schedule I have, A basically took 4 weeks because I split A in half, and then you have to double each entry you do, because there's the first edition talking about all the entries in that one, and then covering all the newer entries in the third edition, which is the second half of, which is this stream basically. The second half of A, the third edition, as you can see on the thing, rest of A third edition. Yeah, we'll wait for people to come in a little bit. How are people doing? Hello. It's okay if if you don't stay for the whole thing, archive Mike. This will be a VOD. You'll probably be able to find on my channel once it's uploaded, and add some volume, please. Yeah, to like my. The thing is, like my my darn mic, it's always just super quiet and junk. Let me see if I can. I'm having trouble with this with like my recordings too. Like I'm making videos. It's always annoying because I'm trying to like balance like having too much like noise, like too much static basically. Open sound settings. I can't do this on time, on stream. It's hard for me to remember this stuff. Volume mixer, that can't be it. Sounds, I feel like it's this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Like levels, if I just bring this to 20, like a microphone, there's still some like, there's more noise, which, it's not great. But if that's louder, let me know if that's good with you. Stop. Go away. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting the higher registers on the yellow here, so it's sounding louder. Cool. Yeah, but I haven't done this in a while. That's okay. I'm binging Ikuhara's works. I've seen Utena and Penguin Drum. You liked them? And now he's watching Yurikuma. Yeah, so Yurikuma was actually my first work because it was a seasonal, and I just thought it looked really cute. And I knew about Ikuhara. I just hadn't seen any of his works. But I'm like, this looks really fun. I want to watch it. And it blew me away. Like, I just was, like, really enraptured by how weird it was and carefree and just like wacky and surreal. I just loved it, and I don't think he's ever topped that for me. I've seen the rest of his works. I don't think anything tops Yurikuma in its sheer weirdness and zany, like the world of bears, and I don't know. I really fucked with that, and just kind of the unabashed crazy and silliness that one had. I keep getting paranoid about my volume level. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. But yeah, I just loved that show. And then seeing the subsequent ones was a little... I couldn't get into them as much. But I love the Utena movie. I hope you saw the Utena movie, because it's completely different. It's not a recap. It's great. Love the movie. But yeah, let's get into... There's no... I decided also with... I also decided with the schedule here, each one has it's kind of linked with one of their essays and this week doesn't have an essay. I'm kind of over trying to read some of their intro stuff. I just thought that took too long in some of the other streams, and it's just kind of weird vibes. So we're gonna go to. So there was no. I didn't check any new comparisons or anything like that because that's not really what this stream was about. Oh, cool background music. Yeah, thank you. I like the background music, although sometimes it's been too loud. So let me know if it's too loud in places. I think it sounds okay right now. Although it's loud for me, personally. I don't know. I'm so fickle with this stuff. Yeah. But let's go into the opinions first. I watched the first episode of Yurikuma back when it aired and put it on hold. Just coming back to it. It's my favorite. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. With Penguin Drum. Penguin Drum's kind of a fever dream for me. I watched it in one night. Like an all-nighter. Not a great idea. Hello, Irish anime fan. Alright, so, opinions. In this reading, there was what I counted to be 29 new opinions, new entries that had an opinion attached to them, what I thought was an opinion. The total entries, like in grand total, I think there are 70 out of the 175 entries in A that have an opinion attached. Like whatever that opinion is, when you say something like the visuals are pretty, or anything like that, any trace of an opinion, it's included in here. Whether that's positive, these are obviously kind of vague catch-alls, but I'm like, this seems like a positive review. This seems like more of a mixed review, trying to find balances of those things. So this little entry, this little bracket here is just, these are all the ones that are from this reading. I think this stream's going to be relatively short. I think it's only going to be an hour. And that's because, I'm trying to get my bearings back, and I'm not like as in the zone as I was in the past couple of streams, I don't think, when it comes to like this subject and diving into the anime encyclopedia. But there's some odd choices I found that I think would be interesting to talk about. Also, I'm sorry that I did the time codes for the last two streams that I procrastinated for a while. And I was in a rush, like I was doing this today, like after I finished my work for Discotech. So I needed time to actually read all the entries. But there's one I didn't even read because I just thought it would be interesting to read on stream. Because I don't know. I think I'm going to have thoughts. So like the positive ones. Animal Conference on the Environment. Enchanting. Should be required for adults too. I want to look this one up. I want to look up, where is it? What is it called? Animal Conference on the Environment. Is this? Yeah. Oh, what the hell? Yeah, so it's 20 episodes. Look how, 345 members. Oh my gosh. No synopsis. This is like a completely unknown title. I like this screenshot. I like this, though. This looks really nice. The art director here is the same one. It's got pretty good art director on Bebop? Is he the only art director? Or is he the art director of Cowboy Bebop? Hold on. Oh my gosh. That's huge. Art director on Escaflowne? 12 Kingdoms? Oh my gosh. This guy's an absolute legend. G Gundam. A lot of Gundam. Oh my gosh, for a lot of the Gundams. Razafon art director. Oh my gosh. Heck of a only person to credit here. But they were really positive about this one. I can't unfortunately read. I have to there we go. I could do this with putting up Mal, but yeah, okay, that's it. Where is it? I have to scroll. Animal. This enchanting series for children should be required viewing for adults too. Clever, inventive, and delivering its instruction with a very palatable serving of absurdity. Animals explore and discuss ways to save the environment as solemnly and ineptly as human politicos and pundits. In racial stereotyping redolent of Italia, British Dr. Rabbit is finicky and patronizing, Max the American Eagle is brash and clumsy, and Tanya the Russian Bear is selfish and greedy, but all are depicted as cut paper puppets with enough charm and sweetness to make the stereotyping funny and the friendships between a tiger, elephant, and crocodile entirely credible. The 7-book series that inspired the show is on Japan's National School Library Association reading list and has also apparently been adopted for use in South Korean elementary schools. Like this sounds really charming, and I like. This is exactly what I talked about this at the last stream. It's entries like this in the encyclopedia that make it really worth having and make it worth really interesting. Yeah, I guess it's like Animal Hetalia, but like also like political and talking about real issues. I don't know. That's really interesting. Hello, Slad. I'm Tanya. Hello. Sorry if that's not kosher on stream. I need it. This is great. It's stuff like this that's really interesting and that I really want to like elevate. And it's like for as many bad takes as Encyclopedia might have about certain whatever, the fact that they are looking through all of these anime and there's some that they actually give so far as their opinion, this is what's really interesting. I would be interested. I would love to check this out. I want more of this sort of stuff and not, their hot take on this like popular show or whatever. Like I don't give a shit. Animal Detective Kiru Mizuno, joyous and extremely silly soap bubble. Apparently Shoji Kawamori is involved in that one. I'm not gonna look that one up, but like, yeah, it's the same. It's they were pretty positive about that one. Animatrix, they were pretty positive about that one. Although they do very much specify that 2 of the shorts are not anime, like very explicitly, including the one that Peter Chung worked on, which is like okay, fine. And in the same token, I am kind of happy that they are specifying what is and isn't anime and kind of making that distinction, even though it can be kind of yeah. But like they were 7 were written and or directed by Japanese filmmakers, but they were very insistent that it's not anime. They kind of go through each short and the the little things, but they're not. The interesting paragraph I want to read here is sort of like their acknowledgement of the Animatrix as an important landmark. It was, we are sure, a coincidence that the engines of transformation in the original Matrix movie were red and blue pills like those used by Marvelous Melmo. Sure? Or how red and blue are just, I don't know. That's just kind of a weird, like, oh, this is like Melmo. What? But Animatrix nevertheless sits well in the tradition of Japanese animation. It can be argued that it is only the latest in the long-running tradition of anthology movies to showcase the talents of great animators like Memories, Robot Carnival, and Neo Tokyo. However, in its origins as a tie-in to a Hollywood blockbuster, it is also one of the most successful anime movies of all time, bolstered by the name recognition of the contributors and the Matrix franchise, which itself owes a considerable thematic and artistic debt to Ghost in the Shell. Its worldwide sales were in the hundreds of thousands. I guess, that's fair, I guess. At the time, that's pretty big. Easily making it one of the best-selling anime, alongside Akira and Pokemon. That's just kind of weird to me. It's like hundreds of thousands. The worldwide sales were in the hundreds of thousands. Which, I don't know. I feel like they're... Alright, never mind. Before long, other creators were trying to plug into Japanese animation as the flavor of the moment. The most conspicuous being Quentin Tarantino with Kill Bill, The Origin of O-Ren. There were also several copycat prequels to mainstream Hollywood films, most notably Sharon Bridgman's Van Helsing, The London Assignment, and Peter Chung's Riddick, Dark Fury. However, these productions do not feature enough Japanese creatives on the production staff to qualify as anime. I wonder what their qualification of how many Japanese creatives have to be on the production to actually qualify as it. I wonder, is there a specific threshold? Is there a quota? Interesting. But they were positive about it. No. Another. They were actually pretty positive about Another. Very few to genuinely induce goosebumps. They were also pretty good to focus on the origins of the show. It's like a novel, and it's actually pretty well regarded. I didn't know about that. I only kind of know about it, like people's kind of clowning on it as an anime and stuff. Like some people are just kind of like over it, but it was pretty well regarded in this one, so that's interesting. Antique Bakery, they were pretty happy with. charmingly animated show, and they're describing it pretty lovingly too. So they were into it. Ape Escape, they were fairly positive. I think they just kind of made it's bright colors, perky music. They're describing it very friendly terms basically. Which again it's not a lot, but it's more than you can say about a lot of these titles. That either they don't say anything at all about them, or they say something negative about them. They kind of tear into them a little bit. Arakawa Under the Bridge, they were also really happy with. Charming, lighthearted. Okay. It described it kind of well. Arat the Legend, smartly. Yeah, this was a kind of a weird entry because they just throw this one word in and it's like that sounds like your opinion, but there's literally nothing else. Arat the Legend. Let me read this because it's literally like 2 sentences. I had never heard of this one. In which case, let's just give some visuals to this thing. I don't know what this looks like, so this will be a surprise to me. Yeah, it's this one. Okay. Kind of alright to me. Sure. Let's see. The Japanese teenager and his namesake from a fantasy world accidentally trade places, forcing each to bring his odd perspective and skills to the problems faced by the other. Based on the manga by Yu Watase, smartly taking the idea of a fish out of water and then doubling it for extra drama. So like that sounds like an opinion, right? But very barely anything. This actually has it's a Maori write actually, which makes me interested. I wonder what the original synopsis was. Maybe it was from the Anime Encyclopedia. I remember them I've mentioned this before, where they seem to be pretty peeved with Mao, of taking a lot of their synopses, and it seems maybe they've done a good job with like rewriting a lot of them. So that's fair. I keep checking the chat, nothing's moved. That's okay. You guys don't have to talk or anything. Around of the Legend, yeah. Arch Enemy and Hero, which like they call it Arch Enemy and Hero, and they list it as that, but it's Maoyu, which is what I knew it as, and I've seen the poster before. It's this one. If I just look up like Maoyu, it's like right here. It's this one, but they call it like Arch Enemy and Hero, which like I had never really seen it referred to as that personally. Like, okay, but they were pretty happy about that, and they were like, they literally go in the review. They literally say in the review, "This is their." I say review. It's their entry. This is the anime for if blah blah blah. This is the anime for you. Let me find it. Arch Enemy. Ugh. Arch Enemy and Hero. If you're the kind of viewer who welcomes the idea of a scantily clad, red-haired academic instituting a policy of social reform, then this is most definitely the anime for you, as indeed it is for at least 50% of all anime encyclopedists. And that's a cheeky joke of like 50% of all anime encyclopedists, because there's only two. It's the two of them. They consider themselves, those two, the only anime encyclopedists, because hey, they're the only ones that made a dictionary. Oh. And this is definitely of the 3rd edition, because Arch Enemy and Hero is not going to show up in the 2nd edition or the 1st. So like as of the time they wrote this 3rd edition, they were apparently the only ones who had tried this. Not so much anymore. Coming soon. Let me just do full screen real quick. Fellas, in the 3 weeks that this wasn't, I wasn't doing this, it turns out there is going to be a French anime encyclopedia, not by these authors, completely new, completely redone. I don't really want to go on Twitter as the desktop thing, but let me see if I can pull up the promotional thread. I actually talked about this with Animatudes, Matteo Waltz, and he's actually working on this encyclopedia with them. So So let me pull this up for you guys. Look at this. French Encyclopedia. They are going to do this by decade. So they're starting with 1963 and going to 1970 something. Yeah, to 1979. Just covering this period, which I think is really, really smart, because then they don't have to like reprint this anymore. Once they finish this is ideally complete. That's it. That's all you need. And they can just work on this progressively too. I think that's a really smart idea. I like the anime well enough. I want to read the light novels. Caleb, when am I getting my staff gifts? I'm not sure, Eddie. I apologize for not knowing. I don't have the staff gifts either. I did not go to the banquet as you didn't either. I didn't go because I was in Colorado on vacation. So I haven't gotten the staff gifts myself. So we're figuring that out. I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately. I can ask Q, because like I have to call him anyway about me getting a staff gift as well. So I can ask for you as well. I'll try to do that. Sorry, fellas, this wasn't like part of the stream. Hope I can find it in my own local all my anime fans are heated how 99% of manga and anime books we get aren't English. The French releases are POG. Yeah, they know how to do it. They know what they're doing. Yeah. All I had to do was learn French. I know. Yeah. I mean, I'm just really excited about it. Apparently, they do still have some opinions. They do include some of their opinions in this. Here's like a example. Obviously, I don't read French, but from talking with Mateo, it does sound like some of them are going to have opinions and stuff. But they're doing a decent. I think they're having some good entries, and there doesn't seem to be any egregious, horrible omissions and weird things in it so far, which is good. It's another page of it. It's pretty exciting. It's also in color. There's a lot more images. Like, wow, an image for almost every single entry. To be honest, like close to every entry. Some of them don't get one, but this is a lot more than the Anime Encyclopedia has, because the Anime Encyclopedia was trying to do all of the anime, like period. So naturally they're not going to get even close. But it will be interesting when this comes out to really draw comparisons to this, because now it's not like this is the only encyclopedia, right? Now there's actually a difference, and we can compare and contrast. I think it's really exciting and interesting. That might be another interesting wrinkle. Hope you're doing well. Thanks, Eddie. I hope you're doing well too. Manga in French. Nice. Kiko manga. The cover should be hung up on my wall. This is the type of anime fans I aim to make. Yeah. Let's go. So let me get back to my notes. Where am I at? Oh. So yeah, I mean, they liked that entry, I guess. Arietty. I'm very interested to see okay. Let me very quickly show you how big their Arietty entry is. This will be very quick. Arietty is here. Goes all through here. They liked that movie. They really liked it. I'm gonna read this entry. This is gonna be a live reading. I haven't read this section before. Let me put desktop instead and pull up the chat. Okay. Let me pull up the chat. Hope my French is good enough to read this. Forget it. On my end, my French isn't good enough yet to read YKK in French. Yeah. I mean, I've read some manga like raw. Like I've imported some manga that aren't translated. It's cool just for the art. All right, Arietty. All around us, in the cracks and shadows of our world, millions of little lives go on unnoticed. Borrowers are just one of the special species that fear humankind, but have come to rely on our careless leavings. Tiny people who survive by borrowing food, discarded objects, and scraps from the big people. But they are a dwindling folk, with no technology of their own and no means of communication, living in constant fear of hunger or discovery. Pod and Homely Clock and their headstrong teenage daughter Arietty live in an old house where previous generations of borrowers have been safe. Then a newcomer arrives. Sho, the teenage great-nephew of the present owner, is facing a dark and terrible fate alone. His parents are divorced and too busy with their own lives to take care of him while he waits for a life-threatening operation. He comes to his great-aunt's house for sanctuary and finds a whole new world. Someone has a hard-on for Ghibli. Uh-huh. There was a previous stream where they were talking about... They made a mention how Miyazaki had basically soloed the anime movie scene for 20 years. And it like that was including the period where he was retired, or not including it necessarily, but for the 2000s, for like all the 2000s. It was like, geez Louise, guys. I don't know. It was just like kind of a weird statement to make. But this isn't even like Miyazaki. It's just Ghibli in general. Studio Ghibli has given a lovingly faithful account of Mary Norton's novel of the lost world of England between the two world wars. Nostalgia for times past is a Ghibli specialty, but in Arietty we also have a warm and humane movie that overcomes its melancholy and its fears of what may come through a statement of faith in simple human kindness. In updating Norton's mythos while keeping faith with her values, Hiromasa Yonebayashi's directorial debut brings Ghibli back to its own roots in solid storytelling, delicate characterization, and breathtakingly beautiful art. Subtitles in sub-territories have overenthusiastically redacted the misprisons and malapropisms of the original book. What the heck? Misprison. I literally don't know what this word means. Define. Misprision. The deliberate concealment of one's knowledge of a treasonable act or a felony. Malapropisms. The mistaken use of a word in place of a similar sounding one, often with an amusing effect. Flamingo instead of flamenco. Dance a flamingo instead of dance a flamenco. Okay. Wrong word. Okay. Oh, I see. Because like the borrowers kind of use wrong words and stuff. I see. Subtitles in some territories have overenthusiastically redacted the misprecisions and malapropisms of the original book, replacing the character's quaint term human beings with the more accurate human beings. Right. I remember like the live action Borrowers movie. That's the only thing I've seen. I've seen this, and I've seen Arietty, but I've also seen the other Borrowers movie that came out. Repeating a gimmick from the earlier Ponyo. I keep not having the chat open, I'm sorry. I mean in the respect that they don't treat historical anime titles with the same respect. Yeah. Or a lot of other stuff. They do have a lot of reverence for pre-war anime. For pre-Astro Boy stuff. I don't know how prevalent that is in this encyclopedia, but I do know that they really, really like that stuff beforehand in the historical aspect. But in terms of other prolific directors and you know that it's hard to find another one they have similar reverence for than anybody at Ghibli. There's a 300-page long French book and gold or go Nagai at a local library. I'm hoping to buy one day. It's $120. Yeah, it is what it is. Those seem like big words for what seemed to be a pretty standard overview of Arietty. Well, yeah, it still goes on. Repeating a human gimmick from the earlier Ponyo, the end credits to Arietty eschew titles and ranks in favor of an alphabetical list of all the cast and crew. Yeah. While this might appear to be an egalitarian, noble statement of community on the part of the studio, it also helpfully obscured the fact that this Ghibli film was only co-written by the famous Hayao Miyazaki in yet another iteration of the studio's early 21st century agonies over succession and continuity. That seems like a nitpick to me. But many of the concerns, and this also, I wonder what their whole thoughts are about Yonebayashi completely departing from Ghibli and just making his own studio. And I wonder what they're doing right now. But many of the concerns addressed both in Norton's books and Yonebayashi's movie are also highlighted in earlier works from Ghibli's two founding directors. The secret worlds of childhood and the importance of relationships with the fantastic are a constant theme running ever since Miyazaki and Takahata's Panda Go Panda. Sho is isolated by circumstance from his parents, like many Miyazaki heroines since Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Is isolated by circumstance from his parents, like many Miyazaki heroines since Nausicaa. Okay. Well, I wouldn't say that she's isolated by the circumstances of her parents. Like, we never learn about her mother. And I think it just assumes that she's, like, dies in childbirth. But, like, she's like, pretty close to her dad. I don't know. While Arietty is detaching from childhood and reforging her family bonds as an adult, a process we see beginning in Kiki's delivery service and coming to fruition only yesterday. Okay. Weird assumption. I mean, the historical stuff is interesting, but you would feel they would talk more in detail about stuff like Joe or Idion if they had seen them. Here's the thing. One of the things that you need more evidence of this. I need to compile as much evidence as possible to really support this idea. They watched a lot more movies and OVAs that are short and they can finish than like whole TV series. And obviously, like, they may have seen the Joe compilation movie, but there is no way you're going to get the significance of that TV show from watching just that movie. It's the same thing with Aim for the Ace. It's the same thing with Idion, probably. I haven't read their Idion entry yet. I don't know if they've seen it or not. But you can definitely tell that there are certain titles that they're prioritizing and elaborating more on purely because they actually watched them, purely because they are short movies or short OVAs or something. And that could lead to a very drastic imbalance of importance and focusing on certain titles. But we'll see if that actually plays out and there's more evidence of that. And it's like, here's all the examples where they don't go into these shows, but they do go into these shows. Even the shorter shows, like 12 episode shows, they seem to have reviews on, but the longer, I understand not watching all of Doraemon. Sure. Okay. But like, you know what I mean? There's some others where it's like, probably wanted somebody to speak on that title. Oh, no. And I understand too, it's a lot of anime. Of course you're not going to like be able to watch all of it. But if you're not going to have like equal representation, then it becomes you create an imbalance by doing that. The ability to perceive and interact with magic and the longing for a lost way of life that embraced it suffuses My Neighbor Totoro, Pompoko, and Arietty. But the modern view of magic is encapsulated in Arietty's glorious dollhouse. It was built by Sho's ancestors for borrowers, but so claims Pod, not as an act of neighborly kindness. It's a trap to entice them to reveal themselves and then cage them as exotic pets for human amusement. Arietty is on the verge of womanhood now, and like Flo, like Fio in Porco Rosso, she is beginning to be aware of the hardships and perils of adult life. But the big people's world is luring her into adventure and danger. Her parents are anxious to protect her from too much reality too soon, all the while wondering where the next meal can be scavenged, in constant fear of hunger, discovery, or destruction. Oh boy. But even if that's the case, why don't go into detail about more experimental OVAs like Angels Like Her Birth? I don't know! I can imagine. Here's something you could kind of catch them on. Their approach, their thinking is that we have to compile every possible anime and get as much anime as physically possible, with some exceptions, of course. They do lay out their exceptions, and you could make the argument it's like you really couldn't spend that much time. So they would be like, because we have to cover everything, there's no way that we would know how significant Birth was or who Kaneda was. We have to draw the line somewhere. But at the same time, it's like, okay, because you did that and instead gave us all these entries about a bunch of porn, like so many entries of porn. I have to actually like look at how many entries of porn they actually. I mentioned this in a previous stream. They did not necessarily identify which ones are hentai or not, or labeled as hentai. They kind of just like slide the word porn in there somewhere, or like allude to it, but I can't actually fully tell in some places. But it's like, you spent all that time to make sure you include a bunch of this kind of crappy porn, and then you couldn't spend all that time, any of that time going into, because of that, now you're spread thin on titles like Angel's Leg and Birth. But they do want to focus, but to be fair, they're putting all this effort into Arietty. Granted, I think a lot of it is just sort of like, it's sort of just connecting it to the rest of the Ghibli canon and not really praising the movie on its own merit. It's sort of just like, this reminds me of Porco Rosso. You know? This is just like that time in My Neighbor Totoro when, you know, it's sort of like just kind of embracing that canon and not so much trying to really champion it on its own merits, which is what I would rather see, personally. But they still go. Like all true Ghibli directors, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Doesn't that imply that there is at least one not true Ghibli director? What does that mean? I wonder who they're talking about. Yonibayashi is drawn to social and political subtext. One can read the borrower's thrifty, humble existence as a tribute to traditional working-class virtues in a world of social climbing and conspicuous consumption, or a commentary on the sustainable lifestyles or simpler peoples and the risks inherent in their exposure to the over-mechanized, over-controlled, over-exploitative industrial world. A theme much explored by Miyazaki, the importance of the female at the heart of the family and the need for her to exchange girlish fantasy for adult responsibility is also reinforced. For the little people, the salt of the earth and the security of family is more important and more affordable than the family lifestyle of their big, rich neighbors. Unless a famous animator working on it, I don't think most people care about the intricate details of hentai. Yeah, it's not even that they go into that much detail about some of these hentai, it's just that they take time to include them at all. You know? They really want to be thorough and like, do we include this hentai or this hentai? I don't know. Because there's like 9,000 hentai. There's a metric fuck ton of hentai. A lot. A lot! So it's like, how much are you really going to include in that? The notion that the family, present or absent, and how it shapes and then surrenders its children is important in most Ghibli movies. She also shows absent parents, and Arietty's close and loving family have influenced their characters, just as Sophie's flighty mother in Howl's Moving Castle, and Patsu and Shita's dead but lovingly remembered parents in Castle in the Sky have shaped theirs. Sho's complete lack of importance to his parents' lives has left him doubting the value of his own. Despite all the expensive toys lavished on him, it isn't until he finds an honest and respectful relationship that he can believe in his own worth. Aside from social concerns, political theories, and ideas about relationships, the sheer craft of Arietty signals to its origins and earns a place of honor in Studio Ghibli's record. Unlike Goro Miyazaki, Yonibayashi came to direction from a long apprentice. I don't know why they're mentioning this. I think this might be the one that are they implying Goro isn't a true? I don't know. Yonibayashi came to direction from a long apprenticeship in Ghibli's animation department, starting as an in-betweener and cleanup artist on Mononoke, then joining the crew of My Neighbors the Yamadas, working his way up to key animation before making the leap to the director's chair. He uses that solid background in his craft to exquisite effect, making a film with a delicately dazzling surface wrapped around a robust core of enduring value. He hasn't yet found his own voice as a director, but on the evidence of Arietty, that will come. Yeah. I hope so too. I think his only other movie was, I'm pretty sure his only other movie was Mary and the Witch's Flower. I have to double check. Okay. Yonibayashi, director. Mary and the Witch's Flower. Oh, when Marnie was there. Yeah. I wonder what they would thought of that movie. As well as Mary and the Witch's Flower. I do wonder. Interesting. Yeah, so I mean that's their. It was just sort of like a kind of a circle jerk of more Ghibli stuff, and they're like, oh, it's like this movie, and like this movie, and like this movie. Okay. Marnie. I don't know if I spelled that right. Sorry. Okay, back to my notes. Yeah, so they were pretty happy with Astrofire Sunred. Cheap flash animation style works well. I'm not going to say that's a mix or a backhanded compliment because it is. It's very simplistic. I don't know if cheap is really... Again, I don't like the word cheap, but whatever. Marnie's great. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then they were also positive on Ayakashi's Samurai Horror Tales. It was a strong collection, they said. 41 minutes in. That's cool. All right. So they had 8 negative reviews. Angel Core. Unpleasant enough to begin with. And apparently it has some themes of I don't know, some imperialist thing. It's like, oh, on top of this not being great or something. Angel's Feather, hampered by limited animation and incoherent plotting. Then we're gonna tough. There's some of these that they're really tough on. Aquarian. They give the synopsis, and then the first thing they say is a futile retelling of Brain Powered. Sheesh. Like, okay. Oh, they said something about fucking Aquarian that was like really weird. Let me get to my my odd choices here. I'll probably mention this and forget I did earlier, but here. Aquarian. Yoko Kanno's music. It's saved by it. Okay, it's accompanied by like Yoko Kanno's music, which has saved many an anime from the dustbin of history. Which one is she referring to? I would be mad at any of them. I'd be mad at them for implying any of them. Like, right? Wolf's Rain? I bet it's Wolf's Rain. I fucking bet you it's Wolf's Rain. I bet they didn't like that one. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Hold on. Turn A Gundam? Bebop? No, it couldn't be Bebop. No way. They mentioned Wolf's Rain a couple of times. They name drop it in other places. Let's see if they... Let me just like skim this. It's a pretty sizable paragraph. Yep. This, however, can stretch the viewer's patience a little. Making for a technically unadventurous but attractive series. I don't know if they were positive. I would have to like fully read it, but I'm not going to do that right now. But like, it doesn't seem that I don't... Maybe. But you know what I mean? It's like Darker Than Black. Which one? Which one are you talking about? Arunja? Maybe. I don't know. It was just a weird comment to make. Really backhanded. Aquarian, yeah. They were pretty negative on AR Tonalico. Pretty, plotless, totally lacking in character development. Waste of time. Sheesh. Let's see. AR. I want to read the whole sentence of this one. AR. Come on. AR. Yeah. Based on a video game series from Gust Corporation, so probably intended to appeal to those who already know the characters and want to rest their joystick fingers between sessions, but a waste of time for anyone else. Sheesh. Okay, it's 25 minutes. It's not even a TV show. It's a fucking 25-minute OVA or something. I don't know it's an OVA because they don't fucking tell you it's an OVA. They don't use that word. AR To... Let's look it up. Let's look this one up. AR, what is it called? Tonelico? Toneli? Okay, yeah, this is an OVA from 2006. Okay, sure. It's 25 minutes. What do you mean a waste of time? That's nothing. If it was 2 hours, sure. If it was like a 12 episode fucking TV show, whatever, sure. 2 episodes, hour each, 2 episodes, 45 minutes, sure. 25 minutes? One thing? Come on. Like, give the kids who, like, actually like this game some fucking shit, you know? I don't know. That's just kind of mean. I don't know. Statements don't make sense to anyone but themselves. Hey! Look, we don't need to go that far. Savage. Yeah, I don't know. That's their opinion, man. Arcade Gamer Fubuki, I didn't think they were very positive about, although they kind of tiptoe around that one. I think they say it's preachy, too long-winded to sustain its jokes. I was like, yeah, this sounds fairly negative. What's poppin', Cozy? Hello, my butt. This might be an hour and a half or something. I don't know. Astarote's toy. They were. Oh yeah, Astarote's toy. This is why Moe and Lolita anime can be so problematic in and out of Japan. Ding, ding, ding. In terms of them not liking Moe anime, like that's kind of a little. That's one pet theory they were kind of running with, like as a running theme. Maybe they don't like Moe anime, which would be pretty, you know, difficult to cover a lot of titles. Well, that's a lot of them. That's like not liking mecha or something. Why do they keep watching stuff they don't like just to complain? No, that's the thing. They're watching a lot of stuff, and so far, there's this many total net from the first edition. There's 13 negative reviews and 17 in the third edition, and in the positive one, there's 10 positive and 23 positive ones. You know, it's very easy to focus on the negative ones and be like, oh my gosh. How dare you? Although there's also the mixed ones too, where they're pretty even-handed with their criticism. The real idea is just like, well, why give your opinion at all? Is the contention, I think. But there are pros and cons to doing this. The pros is when you talk positively about titles that nobody knows about, like this fucking Animal Conference and the Environment thing. That's really additive and interesting and positive and great. It's a pro in my opinion. I'd take it over, you know, calling Aquarian shit or whatever. Like, I don't care, you know, on one hand. But there could be some other instances where, like, they kind of paint the impression a lot of fans have of a particular title that since becomes very undeserved. And a lot of people kind of revisit it and be like, no, actually, this was great. I'm thinking of Golgo 13 in particular, actually. There's a lot of reviews, because Saito passed away recently, a lot of people have been watching Dazaki's Golgo 13 movie. All of them love it. All of them like that movie. For good reason. Because it's a great movie. But these guys do not like that movie. So, it's interesting. See what they kind of, you know. Yeah, but like, this is why Astarote's toy. Let me look this one. Let's I don't know if let me okay, there it is. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I was worried that this would be like, I looked this up because it was just like, I was worried. I wanted to look it before I did on stream because I didn't know if this would be like yikey or, but like, I mean, the cover looks okay. It's not like, you know, it's not like, what is it? Kodomonoji Kan or something. But it is ecchi. And yeah, it sounds like a yikesy synopsis. Sure. Sure. Astarote's toy. But just like, they don't even back this statement up all that much. Here's the synopsis. 23-year-old Naoya is desperate to get a job, not least because he has to support 10-year-old Asuha So when a girl from another world turns up recruiting a toy for the harem of 10-year-old succubus princess Lot, he accepts. The lonely little princess, traumatized by an earlier incident and estranged from her mother, comes to accept the kind-hearted Naoya as a big brother, and when Asuha joins them, she has a friend for the first time. The series demonstrates why moe and Lolita anime can be so problematic both inside and outside Japan. All kinds of sexual improprieties are hinted at, and the apparent setup world whip up any PTA into full banning mode. Do you have any evidence of that? Did that actually happen? Yet the hints are not followed through. The fan service is mild, and the whole is closer to the sly purgatory of a Benny Hill joke than full-on porn. The video series, and that's why it's so dangerous. It's so problematic, because they were so close. We almost got you. Damn, we almost got you. That's what it sounds like. It really is like they're on pins and needles watching moe, like K-On, for example, and they're like, don't, you know? Okay. Interesting. Happy Friday. Hello, Sudi. How are you? I found Animatix's Twitter thread on the Anime Encyclopedia. It's too long to read at 12 a.m., but it looks engaging. Made me like the idea of making one. It mostly about the overseas imports. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of... I get being on pins and needles. I get it. But it's like... I don't want to take a full-blown stance of it's just media at the end of the day. But... you know, it is sort of what you do with it, I guess. I guess I am kind of taking that stance, but... I don't get anywhere close to this sort of genre. Like, I don't consider myself a connoisseur at all. But at the same time, if they really want to go so far as to call against this type of title and like really criticize the moe genre, why then are they then spending so much time on all these hentai? One of which was just like a Futanari title, and they were describing how this character has a huge dick. Like, and me having to read that, it was just like, oh, like some people are interested and like enjoy that kind of media. I don't, but I'm not gonna judge. I'm not gonna be like it should not exist or something like that. Because like I wouldn't want people to judge my right to exist or my taste in media or something like that for whatever reason they may have. So I wouldn't want to do that to other people. It's like treat the others the way you want to be treated kind of thing. They didn't back their points well enough. No, they really don't, in my opinion. But maybe they do in other places. This is just like out of a lot of the Anime Encyclopedia. We're scratching the surface here. Yeah. So AR totally Archie Gamer Astro's toy. Ayakashi show fails at the first. You can tell these are the kind of media critics they are when they have the first test of such and such. It fails the first test for an action adventure. The battles aren't good. Let me see if they actually go into further detail about that. What do you mean the battles aren't good? Let's see. The battles aren't very good. They're slow and fairly uninspired, and may send you back to the video shelf in search of a good old 1970s robot slugfest with no pretensions to cool, or to Hitoshi Iwaki's rather similar manga Parasite. Seems like two different things. The characters, especially the girls, also seem to change their views and allegiances with baffling and unexplained rapidity, and the breakneck pace of the story creates confusion. Yeah, they weren't a fan of it. It's like fine, they can have their opinion about that. And then Azusa will help. I think they just they really slightly drop in these little, it's cliche, there's a predictable hijinks ensue. It could be a more mixed thing and they're just calling it for what it is, but I took that as kind of negative personally. Mixed opinions. Angelium, they call the standard tropes. There's above average design work. Angels on the Court, mostly harmless compared to other porn. Okay. Anohana. So they do have a review for Anohana. Beautifully animated. It's too short. I think they just couldn't get behind that it was 11 episodes. And I think they talk about how much shorter anime is getting recently in like one of their introductions. Where are we at? Okay. If you want me to read that, because I imagine that's kind of an interesting, a title of note. I find it funny to think that kind of writing is present in that in this book. Good for them if they have fun, but if you're critiquing shows like Produce, then you're not having any fun reviewing anime. I know. It's my job to review anime. Good God. I'm sorry for you, dude. Sheesh. Anyway, this is Anohana. Small-town teenager Jinta Yadomi is haunted by a persistent ghost. Her name is Meiko Honma, nicknamed Menma, and before she died, she was part of his group of childhood friends. He blames himself for the accident that ended her life. She can't pass on to the next world until she resolved her last wish, to see all her friends together again. But unresolved issues around her death have driven the whole gang apart. Her parents and her brother Satoshi are also still grieving. Can Jinta help her and achieve her wish? This prettily animated and very sincere story contrasts the innocent freedom of childhood friendships with a sullen, withdrawn adolescence conditioned by guilt and betrayal. Quite a mouthful you got there. It tries to use the loyalties built in happier times as a bridge back to the characteristics that once made the characters able to open up to each other. Unfortunately, the very short length of the series precludes much in the way of plot or character development, and the overuse of flashbacks and expository dialogue takes up too much of the limited time. Anime that approach loss, grief, and death seriously and honestly are few and far between. It's interesting they make that point. I never really believed that personally. Like, oh, this is rare. A little cynical to think that way, I think, because this is obviously a very common theme. And Anohana is worth a look at for that alone. There's also a serial novel version by Okada, which began its run a month before, and a manga written by and illustrated by Ba, which started in Ba. A1 Pictures released a movie version retelling the story. That's kind of all they say about it. Sure. Anohana, 11 episodes is standard now, right? Wait, that's usually what Western animation is doing. Sure. And I will say that there are some, you can still say that there are some anime that do characterization or character development better than others. But then there's others which you kind of have to meet the anime where it's at. You have to kind of be like, what do you want to do? What is your intention? And obviously maybe the intention is to have character development. There should be this sort of thing. I can imagine being bogged down by flashbacks and stuff, but at the same time, the premise seems predicated on doing flashbacks and like the past and what happened to break these characters up. You have to kind of to meet the anime where it's at. Why is it doing that? Achieves what it needs to achieve in 11 episodes. It would have been too much if it was a 2-core. I agree. What does he need? Like one more episode? Like where would you draw the line with this, right? What more do you need? But I understand if it takes a lot of time with what it does do. I understand. But yeah, it's interesting. Another Lady Innocent they were also mixed on. I'm on that. Plot cohesion has never been a staple with this author. They were a little backhanded with it, but they sounded like they were kind of okay with it. They didn't sound overly negative, in my opinion. Arcana Famiglia. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't speak Italian. I make a point of that because they make a point of it in their blurb about it. They're like, the dub can't even pronounce Famiglia right. Okay, dude. The slash gal. I don't know. Sorry, I do it as a gender neutral term, even though it technically isn't. Superb on paper, lots of potential squandered. They just didn't vibe with it, but I think they saw that the value in this kind of series, and they just didn't execute it well enough. I was like, okay. Aria, the Secret Ammo. They have a very it could be read as negative, I think. Let me read their blurb about Aria, the Secret Ammo. By the way, if you wanted to know what they say about Aria, the animation, they don't say anything about it. It's just a blurb, and they're like, it's like Mars Daybreak. It's like Armitage the Third. Because Mars. I don't know. They don't really say much about it. But Aria, the Scarlet Ammo, not Secret Ammo. I'm sorry. Wish fulfillment runs rampant. It's as if someone said to a totally inexperienced geek, make a show with whatever you want in it. Which is fine, unless you want a good movie. What you get here is plenty of eye candy, fan service, and some good action scenes, though not enough of those. What you don't get is consistently good animation, character development, an intelligent plot, or any reason to keep watching if you have something better to do. Sheesh. It's a little more negative, I guess. I could probably put this in the negative category, but sounds, they were at least mentioning some positive aspects about it. It's like they're going, we gotta complain about something. Yeah, I don't know. Well, if maybe not they gotta, but like they felt the need to, because there's something about this anime that bugged them. Army Maidens Suvia thought they were mixed. Deformation of Norse mythology. Pretty art, competent animation. Asylum Session they were mixed on. Awkward animation, but the theme is inspiring. And Atagol. They were really nice to this movie, but then they were just like, yeah, a lot of viewers probably aren't going to like it. Like, the viewers may be bored. I was actually kind of interested in this title, Atagol. Let me look this one up. Atagol. Yeah, this looks kind of nice. Let me, yeah, look at that. Look at that, less than 1,000 members, too. 5.94, not well liked, of course. I think they kind of predicted that. Where is it at? Atagol. The happy little town of Atagol is a place where talking cats and humans live in peace. On the day of the town carnival, everybody is out to have fun, especially local fat cat Hideyoshi, whose band is headlining the concert. Hideyoshi can't resist food or a challenge, and when he's told he absolutely must not open a certain sealed chest, he's hoping to find tuna. Instead, he releases the queen of the plants, the beautiful Pelea. She says she wants to join the community and spread peace and harmony, but her idea of peace and harmony is everybody doing things her way. Helped by a mysterious warrior, 2 human children, and a sentient fruit that adopts Hideyoshi as his father, the fat cat sets out to save the village and the world from her control. If this was a review book, I wouldn't care, but they called it an encyclopedia. You got it, Fullwind Man. That is the rub. It really is the core contentious choice that people have with this book. And they have their defenses of reason for it, but I really want to get a full understanding of how often are they positive, how often are they negative, where does this lean them. It makes it more interesting, for sure. It actually makes it worth talking about, and they do want this to be a conversation. But to what end, we're not sure. It would be interesting to kind of fully understand that. Low member anime never have high scores. They're never a predictor of quality on mail. I agree. Hiroshi Masamura's adventure manga for kids ran from 1976 to 1981, and then took 25 years to make the transition to anime. For some of the parents who took their children to the cinema to see it, this was a delightful trip down memory lane, with overtones of Garfield, a beautifully animated movie with highly hummable tunes, and just enough sinister scares to keep slightly older kids interested. Even so, other viewers may be bored. Plot and character development are minimal, and the pace varies from frenetic to catonic. Production company Mika and Basara, known for the Appleseed CGI movie and TV series, merged CGI and 2D animation very well for this charmingly designed film, but they filed for bankruptcy in 2011. Oh well. But you know what I mean? This is interesting. It's titles like this that I learned about from this encyclopedia that is really interesting. I don't really need their take on Attack on Titan. Not that they have a take. They actually didn't have an opinion about Attack on Titan. I'll read that entry later, if people are interested. Yeah, that's all their opinions, basically. All right, an hour and 5 minutes. Yeah, we might go an hour and a half. I'm happy this is actually going kind of, brisking along. I'm starting to give up on this idea. I really have to define this still of the differences with what's an elaborate and what's in a generic entry. I have to find the balance of that. I think you have to find it. It can't be one or the other. There has to be a middle ground. But that involves listing every single entry. So I don't know about that one. So they did have some spoilers for Aquarian Age, They say like at the end of the TV series, blah blah blah. Although it sounds like a fairly predictable ending. Like, yeah, of course. But they do that to explain the OVA sequel. I don't know if they really needed to do that. And then Astro Ganger, they spoil Astro Ganger. They like it's similar to it's apparently like very similar to Astro Boy. That was disappointing. I was just like, I wanted to. I don't know. Not that I don't know if I'd ever watch Astro Ganger, but like, I don't know. Maybe that was just of some importance or something. But again, I don't really understand why they have to spoil stuff, ever. Not ever. I guess there's like Get a Robo. There's certain titles where it's like sure, but it's too much of a gray area line where it's like you may as well just not do it at all. Especially if people are just sensitive to it in general, right? Okay, so here's some odd choices they did. In their entry for Angel Rabbie, as if Sailor Moon had never happened. I don't know where this comes from. I'll read the entry to you. Angel Rabbie. Again, it's this habitual thing that they have where they have to attach some anime to each one, almost like forcing it. I'm talking a lot. Whew. I swear to God, I will read the whole thing just to be like, just so that it's like, where did this come from? In a far future, let me look it up. Angel Rabbie. I've not seen this one either, or heard of this one, I mean. So I don't even have like a visual for it. I guess it's this one? Okay. Let me pull this one up for you. Alright. In a far future where magic and science have combined, war breaks out for control of the magical lunar city of Sorcerium. Both sides unleash terrible magic, destroying Earth's civilization in the process. A few thousand years later, so far, far future then, mankind recovers, but Earth is still menaced by giant monsters left over from the original conflict. Sorcerium has been cut off from Earth for all this time and has flourished. Queen Mercal and the Seven Sisters now rule the moon and dispatch agents known as angels to protect the Earth. These elite fighters are chosen from a group of lower-ranked warriors known as the Surrogates. Heroine Lasty Farson is 16, but usually takes the form of a clumsy 12-year-old who is useless with technology. Only when her powers are released does she transform into Angel Rabbie and become her normal self. Each angel has a special type of magic, or mode, but Rabbie is unaware of what hers is. There's a reference to 9th century Hokkaido hero Atarui. The church that opposes Lasty is named after him, but most of the comedy seems to revolve around food. Action comedy based on PC game of the same title, part of the Angelic series. As if Sailor Moon had never happened. Where does that come from? I read that whole thing to you, and at once did you be like, yeah, Sailor Moon. And it's just like, what are you talking about? Are you trying to like link it like the plot of Sailor Moon, and they're like, oh, this is if it never happened. Where is this coming from? But also, if it is the case, what? I don't know. It was weird. Astro Ganger's highly up on my watch list. I should watch it. I should watch out when you read its section. I'm not gonna read the whole. I'm not gonna read the Astro Ganger section. I just wanted to let you know that that I can read it for you if you want, but I won't read that portion. I'm trying my best not to spoil what they spoil in this stream. I'm not gonna go by their example. But if you want me to read the Astro Ganger section, I'm cool with that. I wasn't really looking to do that though. Okay, Hideaki Anno. Let me go to my notes again. Hideaki Anno implies the Daicon shorts aren't featured here. So like they talk about, so when they do this, right? Anno Hideaki. Let me find it. So I don't think they list the Daicon shorts here at all. Okay, yeah. They talk about like he meets with Yamaga Nakai, with whom he made the opening short for the Daicon III sci-fi convention. And usually when they name drop titles like this, they link it. They link stuff, but there's no link here. Let me Control F with the Daicon. Five matches with whom he made the opening. That's one. Formed originally in 1982 as Daicon Films. to make an opening animation sequence for the Daicon III science fiction convention. Swift to adapt the tools and put them to use. Daicon IV. Okay. They mention Daicon IV in their gaming and digital animation essay. Daicon IV, an introductory animation for the convention of the same name, made by animators who would go on to form the Gainax company, included brief sequences of wireframe graphics, rendered with a shop-bought PC 9800. The first demonstrable use of computer graphics in professionally made anime was Dazaki's Golga 13. Yeah. And then in Hiroyuki Yamaga's in their blurb about him, he directed the inaugural movie for the Daicon III sci-fi convention. That's it. That's all they mention about fucking Daicon 3 and 4. Interesting. Not that relevant. Here's the thing. I totally get why they did this, because they're trying to avoid these kinds of shorts and commercials and OPs, because they would lose their minds. They can't possibly cover all of them. There's just too many of them. I get it. But it's pretty seminal. It's pretty important. It's still referenced today. It's something that should be in this encyclopedia. You got to make that judgment call. If you're gonna give, again, I'm gonna hark on this hentai thing. If you're gonna include all these hentai, but you're not gonna include Daicon 4, what am I supposed to take from that, right? Obviously, my bias is showing a lot because I don't watch hentai. I'm just not interested, not even close interested. And again, there is some hentai where you should mention them because they're important or historically significant or popular. Sure, I'm not saying cut them out altogether. There's some of these titles, especially a lot of the new entries in the 3rd edition. There was 4 entries in a row. They were just random hentai, random hentai, random hentai. Okay, just weird, dude. I wonder if there was a sentence that got cut because that feels so disconnected. Otherwise, I know. What happened? I didn't see what was redacted there. Full win, man. Fair. Good. I don't know. So that was bizarre to me. Yeah, so this whole blurb with the Hideaki Anno, right? Let me read this whole thing. So it's one after another. Born in Yamaguchi Prefecture, Anno entered Osaka University of Arts in 1980, where he met future Gainax co-founders Yamaga and Akai, with whom he would make the opening shorts for Daicon 3. After early anime work on Macros, so they mentioned Macros, he gained a key position animating God Warrior in Miyazaki's Nausicaa. After his directorial debut on Gunbuster, he spent a prolonged period working on The Secret of Blue Water, on which he had a lack of creative control that caused him to retreat from the business. Okay. He returned with the landmark Evangelion. His subsequent anime... That is all they say about that. He returned with the landmark Evangelion. And then they move on. His subsequent anime... Here's the hot one. His subsequent anime work has included early episodes of His and Her Circumstances. He directed the show. He directed the whole show. He never left. He didn't just do episode direction on His and Her Circumstances. He fucking directed it. What are you talking about? Although much of his recent work has been designing and directing for live action, including an adaptation of Cutie Honey. He is married to manga author Moyoko Anno. No mention of the rebuilds. All 3 original, the first 3 rebuilds have already come out by now when they made this encyclopedia. What are you doing? What do you mean? What do you mean? Didn't ever even mention that he returned. I know. Retreat from the business? What do you mean? Yes, it was a really hard production on him. Yeah, it took a toll on him for sure. But the retreat from the business seems very exaggerated. I don't know where you're getting that from. Sounds like a myth. Or maybe what I'm believing is myth. I don't know. But I do know he worked on the whole show. He's credited on it. Aquarian, yeah, Yoko Kanno's music. That was weird. Okay. I'm getting kind of annoyed with their entries on people in general because they're very unsubstantive. There's nothing about this. Like, okay, Arai Wagoro. Let me look up this guy again. This just like kind of set me over an edge because I'm just like, okay, Wagoro Arai, 1907 to question mark. Not sure when he died. Probably not alive. Maybe he's still alive in 2015 and he's 98. Sure. Also credited, even in some Japanese sources, as Kazugoro Arai, we are unable to determine which is correct. Sometimes also miscredited as Goro Araiwa. Born in Tokyo, he graduated from Tokyo College of Dentistry. He practiced as a dentist while still finding time to work on early puppet shows and animations, including Madame Butterfly. That's it. Who? Like, maybe he has more significance, and I would like to know that. But this does not give me any indication of why you included his name out of all the possible staff people that they could have possibly listed. Think of how many anime staff people there are. Probably, maybe not as many with the letter A or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? It was just like, this is very unsubstantive. You can't even confirm what his name was. I just didn't watch my character on IMDb. Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't mention Anno is friends with Miyazaki, so they could have gone on another Ghibli tangent. Well, they do mention that he key animated on Nausicaa, which is really his only major. I'm surprised that they didn't mention that he's the voice of the main character in The Wind Rises. I bet they fucking mentioned it in their Wind Rises segment because they love their Seiyu trivia. Let me find the Wind Rises. Anno. Let me see if I can control F this. Yeah. Anno. No! They don't mention it! Amazing! I'm actually pretty happy for them. Good job. Seems like such a thing that they would definitely do. I am not going to read their segment on Wind Rises yet. But, okay. Oh my gosh, they have 490, well, it's because annoyance, and yeah, never mind. I was about to say they have they have that many entries on Hideaki, mentions of Hideaki Anno? Not really. There we go. Okay. Let me get back to chat. If they don't have anything to say about certain people, why are they listing them? Exactly. I couldn't tell you. I think that's kind of it's a weird trend. We're going to say we need obviously much more significance. There are a lot more examples of like, this guy. You didn't say shit about him. You didn't say anything. One work that he worked. You know what I mean? You have to give enough reason to put him. And then, once we compile the whole thing, to substantiate this claim, we would probably then go, I don't want to, again, Google other things and try to fact check them. And I don't want to do that. But I do want to see if they have an entry for Eiichiro Yamamoto. Let's find out. Let's see if they do. I wonder if they do. I hope they do. I think they will. Eiichiro Yamamoto. I'm searching their book. It's probably in the letter Y. There's a lot of results. Okay. Yes. They do have a blurb for Eiichi Yamamoto. Great. Great. You know what I mean? But there's some people that I think they're going to miss. I think they're going to not have certain... They might have it, and it's going to be really awkward. Where it's like, you mentioned this guy, and not this guy, right? Yeah. Anyway, they mentioned an Arcana Famiglia. Like so many other media mix stories, this leaves a lot to be desired. What does that mean? What are you trying to imply there? Like so many other media mix stories, like Haruhi Suzumiya. Like, a lot media mix stories where they're integrating a lot of different mediums together to try to tell one story or one universe. It's actually a really key and interesting facet of anime creation and Japanese storytelling in general. I mean, Joe from Pause and Select can probably speak a lot more on this subject, but that kind of gives me the yikesies, where it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's like so many other ones? It leaves a lot to be desired. But they do have that many mentions of annoying. Yeah. About as many entries of Tenchi Muyo and Urusei Yatsura. Yes. Although not too many in my reading so far, in this particular chunk, which was nice. Yeah, but that was a kind of a weird moment. Why? What are you talking about? And then in Arch Enemy and Hero, as if the cast of Berserk held hands and went into public service. What do you mean? It's just kind of a weird statement. Like they just make some of these strange comments about like as if there was really no context I can give you for that either. I guess I could give you some context. I'm always worried. I'm always trying to cover my ass with these guys because I don't want to paint them in bad faith. I try not to. Where is it? R. Okay, it's in the R. AR. AR. Arch Enemy and Hero. Her knight in shining armor stays by her side, trying to persuade his old allies that it's all for the best, as if the cast of Berserk suddenly held hands and went into public service. It's one of those statements you kind of raise an eyebrow at and then just keep going. Because it's just like, I don't even know what they were trying to say. There's no other there's nothing else. It's like the Sailor Moon comment earlier. Let's see. Oh, the Astro Ganger. Those were the days. Oh my god. Okay, I'll read the Astro Ganger one. I will not spoil this for you. I will not spoil Astro Ganger. But let me... let me just read this one for you. The Earth is under attack by hostile aliens called the Blasters. Professor Hoshi creates a giant robot using a bar of living metal that his wife has brought from her home planet of Kansaros. After their death, their son Kantaro is left to pilot the humanoid Astro Ganger robot in the struggle to save the Earth. This is around the time where I think that they spoil something. Astro Ganger was a curious amalgam of controllable vehicle and sentient android. He could think for himself, had variable expressions. Spoilers. The series was popular enough that it was still referred to a decade later in the Urusei Yatsura manga, where Ataru Moriboshi sung a snatch of the theme song. Afterward, the NAC production company went to work on Chargeman Ken. When Astro Ganger was broadcast, it was the first giant robot anime shown in 5 years. Animators and producers had shied away from the genre, fearing that Gigantor, Tetsujin 28, had said all there was to say, and that anything in imitation of it would be seen as pointless and derivative. M-, those were the days. So, like, they were, like, happy that there wasn't any mecha for 5 years. That, like, oh, if only the anime industry now could actually see that when there's a title that's said everything that needs to be said, they don't have to visit it again. I love that quote. It's so AVGN. Yeah. No, but what? You know what I mean? Where it's like, but that's, first of all, interesting tidbit. Actually kind of interesting where it's like, before it was even a trend, before Mazinger had come out, you know? And it explains that, like, it's like Tetsujin and then Astro Ganger. But, like, I don't know what they're trying to say with that. You know, it's like they're implying that, like, oh, if only the mecha anime learned from that. Those are the days. Yeah, in the 1960s. I don't know. It's just a weird comment to make for me personally. I took kind of a weird vibe from Azumanga Daioh. One of the first, and I think we talked about this in a previous stream because someone wanted me to read Azumanga Daioh, the entry. I'm out of water. There's water behind me. What we did mention this, I think, when we read the Azumanga Daioh entry. One of the first, if not the first, of the everyday anime. So they're trying to imply that Azumanga Daioh was one of the first slice of life. Yeah. Okay. And they have an entry. They have a whole essay describing everyday anime, which they link. So we'll see what they actually mean. What they actually mean by everyday anime. I don't know where they're getting it. What Nichijokei or I don't know. But we'll see. We're not there yet. That's like saying Dragon Ball shouldn't exist because Fist of the North Star already did a story-heavy battle shonen. Kind of, yeah. I can't understand it. Also, it's just like, do you just want anime to stop now? Like, we'll just keep making more. It's fine if there's some stuff that's like similar and whatever, because some people want the same itch, right? Wasn't the first slice of life anime made in the 80s? Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that you back in the 80s that you could probably quantify as a slice of life. I'm not going to try to define Nichijokei or these other, these particular terms that that Japanese have defining their own shows. But in terms of like, very what we understand as slice of life, I can imagine Akagi no An can classify as a slice of life. Or Heidi, which is even earlier. It's 5 years earlier. Why isn't that a slice of life? Is it just a historical fiction? Is that what it's called? Is it a drama? What do you call that? I don't know. But, fine. I didn't really like specifically, I think that the recurring traits, it's sort of what I'm talking about here on this stream sort of deal. But that's fine. Well, it's about an hour and 28 minutes. Pretty good. It might actually go to 2 hours after all. We'll see. But if there is at this time, I'll wait for a few minutes for comments and stuff. But if there are any, at this time it is now open read. If there's anybody that wants me to read certain entries that begin with the letter A, and you could also, if there's some people that are satisfied with just like you want me to read a different entry from way down the line somewhere else, that's fine too. Because I understand that we'll probably not be talking about, say, Ojima Doremi or Ashita no Joe or these other ones for weeks, months, if not maybe a long, long, long time. But I understand. So I understand if people want to hear the entries now or something. But yeah, open read. Again, I don't want to be hopping around too much, but yeah. If there's anything from this section that begins with the letter A, anything at all, we now have the A's are all done. It took us a month, maybe more, plus a month plus probably, 4 streams, 4 2-hour streams pretty much, to go through the entire A section. This will be fun. The A is not nearly the longest. M is very long. S and T are very long. There's some chunks. But yeah, at this time, does anybody have any titles they want me to read the entries of, and we can talk about them or interact and stuff like that? Yeah. I'll wait a few minutes. Let me go get a thing of water. Be right back. See what I mean? I'm right back. Boom, bada bing. I don't know if I got an answer to this. Yeah. Let's read Argento Soma. Or Gent Soma. I think I may have talked about it in the last stream, but we'll while you're here, yeah, sure. Argento. ARQRST. Forgot my alphabet. Where are you, Christmas, Argentosoma? Oh yeah, no, I definitely did talk about this before, where they kind of spoil Argentosoma a little bit. Mysterious metallic life forms attack Earth in 2054 and also haunt the dreams of Earth boy Kaneshiro Tact, who is unable to show his feelings for his lover Maki until it is too late. Maki's laboratory pieces together Frank, a whole alien made from parts scavenged from wrecks. But when the monster is activated, it destroys the laboratory. Hideously scarred in the accident, Tact changes his name to Ryu Soma and vows to avenge himself on the aliens, only to discover that his new bosses at the funeral organization are now employing one. The damaged but functional Frank resolves to help humankind, although humankind may not necessarily want to be helped in the way Frank intends. But the only human he is prepared to communicate with is the pretty Harriet Bartholomew, a girl who reminds Tact of the dead Maki. Oops, spoilers, sorry. Mixing the nihilism of gray digital target with the ambiguous enemies of Evangelion, Argentosoma also features curiously lopsided designs from the asymmetric Frank and obvious tips of the hat to the Frankenstein story. As with many other TV series of the cash-strapped turn of the century, it also demonstrates a noticeable drop in animation quality, going from reasonable to barely adequate in the space of the first few episodes. The 26th episode was not broadcast but released on video. And that's it. I never got that impression for Argentosoma. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself from previous streams. But yeah, I don't remember it being like that. I can understand, but... What does it say about Kinnikuman, considering it was the inspiration for many battle shonen? Let's see if it's listed as an ultimate muscle. Because it definitely was. Because it's definitely not listed as Kinnikuman. Maybe it is. I don't know. Ah, it is listed as Kinnikuman Ultimate Muscle. Okay, cool. Superhero Suguru Kinniku, the overmuscled prince of planet Kinniku, wrestles against numerous outlandish opponents, including the Texan Terryman, British Lord Robin Mask, and legendary Chinese brawler Ramen Man. The most popular anime superhero of the 1980s, based on the manga and Shonen Jump magazine by Tamago Yude, Muscle Man also wrestled on the big screen in 7 anime features between 84 and 88. When his reign in the ring was over, he was replaced by Fight Ramen Man, first as a 26-minute feature, then as a 35-episode spin-off TV series, directed by Masayuki Akehi, in which the Chinese super wrestler Mien Nan hunts down the Poison Snake Gang, who killed his wrestler parents, employing comedy kung fu in the style of Ranma 1/2. It came out the same year. No, wait, Ranma came out in 89, didn't it? Because saying this Fight Ramen Man was like, it's just like Ranma 1/2. Ranma 1/2 came out in 89. This came out before Ranma. Cool! Though unknown for a decade in the West, the WrestleMania appeal of Muscle Man was too great to resist in the wake of the Pokemon boom, and a U.S. broadcast was announced as forthcoming in 2001. The toys, however, sneaked abroad long before, released from Mattel as MUSCLE, millions of unusual small creatures lurking everywhere, Muscle. Kinnikuman's son, Kinnikuman II, appeared in his own short anime movie in 2001. A new series, Ultimate Muscle of Kinnikuman 2002, was followed by a third commissioned specifically for the American market, i.e. with toned-down violence, ironically causing it to not be broadcast in Japan. Really? I did not know that. Ultimate Muscle, like the one that aired on 4Kids, was not broadcast in Japan? Does it not have a sub? Does it not have a Japanese audio? That's new to me. That's interesting. So I read that synopsis. I've not seen Kinnikuman at all. Does that sound any way inaccurate? Oh, I didn't get that redacted one you just put out. I was just about to read it. A Benabashi. I did read a Benabashi in a previous stream. Message redacted. So no mention on how Kinnikuman invented the tournament arc and power of friendship tropes, but it was broadcast in Japan. Oh. Okay, yeah. They say it wasn't. Okay. So no mention on how Kinnikuman invented the tournament arc and power. Yeah. I think they're trying to... No, they're not. I was about to say they're probably trying to avoid making those definitive statements about invented these certain tropes and these arcs and things like that, but they're not. Because they definitely say that about Tenchi or Urusei Yatsura or these other things when it comes to certain popularities and certain trends and stuff like that. That's interesting. Well, it's hard to say invented the tournament arc. It's probably true. It's definitely the first one that was major. First major example of it. Although you could always say that, like, you know, you always have tournament arcs in, like, Kyoji no Hoshi or something. Like, there was probably a tournament in that one. With, like, the way baseball works. Like, the Koshien or something like that. Okay. Let's go to Benabashi, even though, you know, here's the thing. It's going to be tough because I really don't want to read a lot of stuff that I've already read before. But again, I want to accommodate the people that are here for stream. You know, it's great that you guys are here. I'm really appreciative. So I would like to accommodate. Benabashi, where is that? Oh right, they changed it to magical shopping of Benabashi. It's not in the A section. It's in magical shopping arcade of Benabashi. Satoshi Imamiya has grown up in the seedy but friendly shopping arcade of Benabashi in Osaka, but faces a series of modern ills as his childhood friend prepares to move away to Hokkaido and bulldozers line up to demolish the shabby but much-loved bathhouse. Soon he is propelled through a series of alternate universe Benabashi arcades, each repurposing his family and friends through the framework of particular stories, legends, and mythologies. That in itself might be fun enough, as Satoshi and his love interest attempt to navigate back to their home dimension, but the narrative hides oodles of in-jokes at the expense of fan-favorite anime and Hollywood movies, as one might expect from the people who gave us a Talk No video. Satoshi, in fact, has very little interest in getting home, wallowing in a series of ever more exciting fantasy environments and finding them far preferable to the traumatic changes just about to beset him in the real world. A far deeper backstory draws, like Pompoko on the erosion of traditional Japanese life and modernity, eventually revealing one of the characters... It's like spoilers. It sounds like spoilers to me. With two characters are just about to replay a tragedy, resulting in the birth of his mother. You know what I mean? A Benabashi is hence... I know you don't know what I mean because I haven't read it, but that sounds like spoilers. It's like a twist or something. A Benabashi is hence reframed not as a simple place name, but as Abe's Bridge, a relic in the place name that beautifully encapsulates this good-hearted TV show's celebration of tradition, even as it pastiches it. A manga adaptation ran with somewhat more adult themes, befitting the magazine's likely readership. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely came from movies, if not from manga before. Might be, I thought you said, don't go past A. No, I did. I try not to go past A if you can. But, you know. There are certain titles that I haven't read the Attack on Titan one yet. There's certain titles I have in the past 3 streams. But I guess that is what it is when you do an open read. And, you know, whatever. How can I forget the one in our arcade? I did read Arcade for Gamer for Buki when you were there, Cheese. I'm pretty sure I read that one. Of course, I have terminal brain rot, so if it's already been talked about, just ignore. I'm pretty sure you were there, dude. And I'm like, all right, we'll read Arcade Gamer for Buki. I'm pretty sure I read that one already. Yeah, I tripped up my words. Yeah, that's what it is. Popularizing. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let me see the ones that are on my quote-unquote schedule. Where is it? Edit? Yeah. An Anohana, another Aria, Arietty, Sunred, Attack on Titan, Azumanga Daioh. I mentioned all of these except Attack on Titan. Their Attack on Titan one is really interesting because they really don't, I don't know. Let me see. They really tiptoe around stuff, which I think is smart. I think their entry doesn't really age all that badly. There we go. Let me put the chat up. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it, if it isn't the case, then you can bother me next time, and we can read it. But I remember reading it, and I was like, yeah, this is whatever. It's been 100 years since humanity was forced to retreat behind a series of defensive walls to protect itself from the grotesque, marauding giants known as the Titans. With unknown motives and a series of variant forms not unlike the Angels of Evangelion. The Titans have suddenly renewed their assaults with increased vigor. The only thing that can stop them is a strike to a weak point at the back of their necks, a difficult prospect that has led the humans to develop vertical maneuvering equipment. Attack on Titan follows the progress of a series of raw recruits through early trauma, boot camp, and combat, a la Starship Troopers. Can you imagine watching Attack on Titan? This is just like Starship Troopers. As they prepare to avenge the deaths of their loved ones and the fall of the outermost and several concentric walls. In particular, it focuses on Eren, a youth who eventually acquires a disturbing special power. They don't spoil it! Look at that! They don't spoil it! Look at that! How hard is that? Come on! Who acquires a disturbing special power, leading to questions about the true natures of both friend and foe, and a consideration of motives that recalls the later reversals of Gunbuster. Are we the Batties? And a consideration of motives that recalls the later reversals of Gunbuster. I'm trying to recall what reversals they're talking about, because it's not like the bad guys are just the same the whole time in Gunbuster. They literally just escalate. Do you mean like the later reversals as in like, oh shit, they don't age or something? Like what are you talking about? We gotta make sure Fubuki's stuck in the public consciousness. No, we don't. No, we don't. It's fucking 3 out of 10. With its depiction of a world under siege, and with a broadcast attended by game spin-offs and novel prequels, Attack on Titan seems to have tapped into the zeitgeist of the early 21st century, attracting fans at both ends of the political spectrum, and plaudits and controversy in equal measure. Hong Kong viewers praised it as an inadvertent metaphor for the looming presence of the People's Republic in their daily lives. The South Korean press decried it for supporting a kill-or-be-killed mentality that played into the hands of the saber-rattling policies of the then Prime Minister Japan Shinzo Abe. If anything, Hajime Isayama's original manga and documentation around it seems to suggest yet another inspiration of the sense in post-9/11 insular Japan that the world outside is not as walled off as it first might appear to be. See Howl's Moving Castle and Summer Wars. Okay. A pair of live-action film adaptations directed by Shinji Higuchi were announced for Summer's 2015. Compare to Sunday Without God, which takes a wholly different stance on the end of days. Huh? Attack on Titan compared to Sunday Without God. I haven't seen Sunday Without God, but I can already tell you that is a very, very strange connection to make, which takes a wholly different stance on the end of days. What? I actually didn't read the second paragraph when I initially, because I was skimming through it because obviously I was trying to rush for this. It didn't sound like they were negative or positive, or it didn't have any opinion about it. And they don't. But what are you talking about? doesn't really talk about the anime much itself either. It's really more about the property of Attack on Titan. I'm pretty sure the controversy was in South Korea, not Hong Kong. They do mention the South Korean press decried it for supporting a kill or be killed mentality. That, yeah, maybe that's the chat's just behind or something. They do mention that it's a South Korean thing or something. I don't know. I don't know. That's certainly a title. Let me see what else. Pretty much read all the other ones. Another was sort of interesting where like they really just talk. They it was refreshing actually about like the context about it, and like it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good or whatever. Another, yeah. In 1980, they describe it. True to many real school ghost stories, this adaptation of Yukito Ayatsuji's 2009 novel takes thrills and chills of many teen superstitions and exploits the robust ability of Japanese people and their language to put on the performance of ignoring anything unpleasant, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Much like the Ring Saga, another seems to draw on the freak accidents of the Final Destination movies. Although since these were released a lot after the time in which the story is set, the characters instead observe that their situation oddly parallels The Omen and its sequels. Another exploits urban myth to present a horror scenario in which gruesome deaths will be visited on the class unless they can discover, or as it turns out rediscover, a means to dispel the curse and enact the required ritual or reenact it, whatever the likely cost. Widely cited as one of the best Japanese horror stories of its era, the original Another gets a fairly faithfully creepy adaptation in this anime version, accentuating the grief, scandal, and disaster that can often lurk so close to everyday life for self-absorbed teens, and making it one of the very few anime to genuinely induce goosebumps even in jaded anime encyclopedists. The 1990s time frame, as in When They Cry, allows the drama to unfold in a time period when the absence of mobile phones and accessible online data prevents certain simple solutions. It was a pretty good review. I was actually pretty happy with that one. I'm pretty sure they need to stop comparing shows to random stuff they like. No, that is their big thing here. They're real. I don't know if they really make a statement about this in their introduction anywhere in either editions, but it really does seem like a prerogative of theirs to really make a network and really show that all of these titles are connected, and they're it's also as a I wouldn't say gimmick, but as a mechanism to keep people in the encyclopedia as long as possible, to keep them reading. Where they're like, oh, what's that title? And they go read that entry, and then they go read that entry, and then that, and they're just kind of bouncing around them as much as possible, so they get really sucked in, and so you can read it as much as possible. Kind of similar to YouTube, right? With like trying to give you recommended videos to keep you on the platform. But yeah, they do that a lot. But it'll be interesting to really cite and give context to the consequences of doing something like that. Because yes, it's resulting. So even with just reading the A section, we're done with the A section now. Just the 1 out of 26 different letters, right? Granted, Q is like 1 page, or X is 1 page, whatever. Despite the whole rest of the encyclopedia, you can already tell they are stretching a lot with some of these comparisons. With like it's like this tile, compare it this, and so they're doing that very almost to a fault. But not only that, they're also doing it to the same titles very often to get where it gets very repetitive. Tenchimuyo, you know. Although at that point it will be interesting to see which ones they do that with, but also which ones they don't do that with. Like it's interesting how little I've heard of Gundam or Lupin the Third in this A section. I don't even know if they mentioned that almost at all. There might be some titles where it's like, why aren't you connecting that more often? Why shouldn't that be more of a network, like an outreach point, more than you already are? You know, be interesting to see. Well, it's about an hour and 50 minutes. That's pretty good. I would say I'm pretty happy with this entry in the expedition. But won't it confuse people when they're comparing two things that barely have any? Yes, it will. Yeah, That's kind of the idea. Yeah, it gets some unintended consequences. Legend of the Galactic Heroes is just like Oron because it has boys. Jesus Christ. Yeah. It's not that bad, but man, some of these, it's like a right-wing Pokemon, perhaps. You get little things like that. If I'm to really dig it, obviously I'm not gonna make the video right now, like the whole big like findings video, right? The real big essay type of thing, video essay. But if I was to name the section about about their networking of this whole thing, that would probably be the title of it, as a right-wing Pokemon, perhaps, because that's like the most extreme outlier I can think of right now, where they're just like, Alien 9, it's like a right-wing Pokemon, which they cut from the first edition, to be fair. Mentioned brain powered before Gundam, at least in this end. Let me actually. You can technically test that, actually. If you go chronologically, if you look up brain powered and you see how many results that show up, there's 11 results. Produced similar character designs for brain powered that shows up on the entry for Acrobunch. On Acrobunch, they mention Takayama. Oh no, Inamata. Who was the Inamata? I don't remember. Inamata is the DBS design. One of the character designers, I guess, or designers. Mutsumi Inamata. They mentioned him for brain powered. Whereas Gundam, the first mention of Gundam in this encyclopedia is page 37. The entry. They mentioned Gundam in their introduction. So let's see. In terms of the encyclopedia proper, so technically yes, they do mention Gundam first, but that's because they also mention Pokemon a lot. Oh, never mind. I scrolled all the way up. The first mention is page 12 in their introduction, where they're like, "There's only space for Evangelion spin-offs and the occasional Gundam reboot, but there is more to anime than that." So they're kind of mentioning Gundam in a hand-wavy kind of way. So it is a major point, but the first mention of Gundam in their encyclopedia proper is in advertising and sponsorship, which is still not an actual entry. Page 93, Akane Kazuki, where they're mentioning him. They're mentioning as a character, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of the mentions of Gundam. There are more entries to it than of Gundam, obviously, but yeah. I'm going to be interested to see what weird stuff you find in the letter B. Yeah, that's the idea. It's going to be really... I love reading the whole thing and not just selecting this not cherry-picking it, basically. It's my idea. If you got a moment, can you see what the Garzey's Wing entry is? It's basically the anime version of the room. Kind of a cliched take. I bet it's in their entry to Dunbine, because they usually condense all of them together. There is one entry. There is one result when you search up Garzey's Wing. One result in the entire encyclopedia. And that's in D for Dunbine. Much later, in the wake of the similar Escaflowne, Tomino would adapt the robot-free Wings of Lin itself into a video anime. The truly awful three-parter Garzey's Wing. Chris, a Japanese teenager, loses half of his soul when he is summoned to Byston Well by the priestess Hassan. The Maitomias tribe wishes to escape from Ashigaba slavers, and Chris is to be their champion. He guides them through their fight to the promised land, fighting off Roman armored dinosaur-riding Ashigabas, while the Tokyo half of his soul sends telepathic messages about such topics as how to make gunpowder. This show is very cheaply animated and shoddily written, and though this was the only part of the series to be released in the US, the poor quality of the dub makes it almost unwatchable. A further sequel, Reigns of Rien, was premiered on the internet in 6 parts. They don't even mention anything about Wings of Rien, but they actually give a synopsis for fucking Garzey's Wing. And there's at least kind of 2-ish paragraphs for for Dunbine itself. But they give a whole paragraph to fucking Garzey's, of course. I'm sorry, but the anime version of the room is Microtransformer Daicon 5. Okay. I remember they had a funny name for Doremi that I think they called it Stumbling Witch Doremi. I think they called it Magical Witch. I thought they called it Magical Doremi because it was a 4Kids title. Yeah, they call it Magical Doremi. Bothersome Witch Doremi. They say Magical Doremi is what it's listed under, and then in 1999 they're like Japan Ojamaja Doremi, aka Bothersome Witch Doremi. That's funny. Garzey's wing dub is amazing. Best unintentional comedy ever. It's boring. I mean, I like the highlights. I think it's better to experience Garzey's wing in the highlights and the kind of the craziness of the first episode. But it's just really boring. I can't get into it really. Anywho, tell Mr. Wolf that Duncan lives at. I think that'll be it for this installment. Thank you guys. There's some people who are like a little late to the party, and I appreciate you coming. Those of you guys who are in the chat, thank you so much. That was a great conversation. I think I'm gonna call here because I don't want to go over 2 hours. But yeah, no, I don't think there was anything huge. But it's gonna be further reinforcing a lot of similar ideas throughout a lot of these, and maybe it'll be a broken record, but with different examples, and it'll be going through different titles and stuff. So that'll be fun and interesting. In the book they didn't even call it Magical Doremi. Really? The 01? Let me look at the 01 book. Because that's the 3rd edition that I read from just now. The Magical Doremi. Magical. Could have sworn. Oh. Yeah, you're right. It's not in here. It's not listed in Magical. Yeah, let me find Doremi. Hold on. Doremi. Sorry, this is on the last few bits of the stream. Yeah, I can't find it. I don't know. I'll look for it later or something. I'm going to come across it eventually, I guess. See you later. Yeah. Anyway, I'll go see you guys around. Yo, peace. And I gave myself enough time there. Let me make sure I do actually on this thing.